Hi there. My name is Benjamin Bradley, and I'm thrilled to participate in the North Carolina 10 for 10. North Carolina 10 for 10 is a statewide initiative of North Carolina writers to help aid in the support and long-term recovery of our beloved Western North Carolina in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. 10 for 10 for the mountains. It's our way to keep attention on the long-term need for aid and recovery and an opportunity for everyone to experience the healing power of stories. Today, I'm reading in support of Homeward Bound Western North Carolina, whose mission is to prevent and end homelessness in Western North Carolina through permanent housing and support. I've seen firsthand the impact that they have, and supporting them now is more critical than ever before. Today, I'll be reading a passage from my latest release from Camcat Books. It's a small town murder mystery based in Western North Carolina on the edge of the Nantahala Mountains. The book is entitled What He Left Behind, and it's my way of writing my own love letter to Western North Carolina. Ugly things can happen in beautiful places. I learned that the hard way the summer that I turned 18. Hell, the whole town did. Up until then, I'd seen Oak Hill in a certain light, shaded by towering pines and friendly locals. Danger never seemed within striking distance. Maybe we should have seen it. Maybe it was in the background of every childhood memory, of every risk that we took. But none of it felt real until we saw what happened to Sarah Price. After that, though, danger was everywhere. Back when I was a kid, Oak Hill stood as a classic all-American example of small town life. Now, a small town only left so much room for adventure and mischief. Youthful citizens, feeling the suffocation of the Macon County border and the yearning for new horizons to explore, turned instead to the untamed parts of the land. Some packed into borrowed cars and drove far across the state line, bumping into trouble in Tennessee or Georgia. Others crisscrossed the state and parked themselves on the pristine beaches of the Outer Banks or some lesser-known village. No matter the location, anywhere was more attractive than Oak Hill, North Carolina. In my years of adolescent zeal, we stayed local. Lucas Franklin, 3 years our senior, was the first one to find the clearing. He'd been on a hunting trip with his father, and some navigational blunders drove them into the scrub. The naked spot in the thick forest of the Nantahala appeared like a blank canvas in front of him. Once fellow students got their brushes on it, the secret was out, and everybody painted their stroke. Sawyer and I first visited in our sophomore year, after great insistence from Cliff that we were squandering our teenage years watching TV mysteries and playing board games. Cliff was drawn to the bright lights and the hormonal buzz of the party scene, and despite our differences, we traveled as a pack. Some wisecrack in middle school called us the tricycle, and we made a stink each time someone dusted off that old nickname, even though we secretly adored the label. The beauty of a tricycle was that all the wheels pulled their weight. Everyone supported one another. The danger was that all it took was one missing wheel and the others fell obsolete. The older crowd dubbed the clearing the Inferno, slapping an ominous label on an innocuous, picturesque gap in the woods. That first night, I gawked at the surrounding pines that safeguarded any activities from civilization. My feet rested less than 3 miles from Murphy Road, yet I felt like I'd stumbled through a portal into a new world, one without rules or adults or consequences. And soon, smoke from bonfires snaked into the treetops, beer spilled over plastic cups, and glee mixed with sparks in the air. Now, high school lumbered along, and the three of us ventured to endless beer-soaked bonfires where we'd mingle with upperclassmen or gossip with our classmates. Cliff came for the lukewarm suds in his cup. I came for the backdrop and for the light show, where fireflies were the opening act and embers sent us home. I like to think that all the trees in the forest watched alongside us. Virgin stands of sycamore getting their first taste of trouble. Yellow poplars dancing along to the music. And Sawyer, well, he came because I was there. The crowd varied night by night. Recent graduates, stymied by the limitations of small town life, often lingered and hung around with the younger crowd. Many bemoaned the burdens of blue-collar jobs and the pressures of adulthood, but we ignored them. The Inferno was no place for worry and long-term planning. The only property within earshot of the spot was a palatial mansion owned by local tycoon Silas Dockery. The fence line of the family estate stretched for acres along the edge of the Nantahala, but we never saw a soul. On the occasional night, Madison or Ethan Dockery Silas's two kids would appear with a gaggle of out-of-town friends and steal the spotlight. They were the closest things we had to local celebrities, being the rich kids we knew. Ethan basked in the attention, but Madison tended to skirt into the shadows and mingle with whoever caught her eye. Once I returned from a bathroom trip in the trees to find her and Sawyer talking alone. He broke it off quickly and snagged my hand. What was that about? I asked. Oh, my dad works for their dad, he said. I considered pushing him further. I'd seen the twinkle in Madison Dockery's eye. I'd also seen the fury in her stare as Sawyer walked away and held me. Maybe I thought Sawyer was too naive to know what Madison's intentions were. Maybe I thought I was the naive one. By senior year, Cliff had a relationship with the organizers, and we had a standing invitation to join whenever we wanted. There was a life to be lived that didn't involve drowning yourself in booze and gossip, but Cliff had a taste for it and joined whenever he could scrape together enough cash for a few beers. He lived for the inferno, for the Nanahilla. We didn't have dilemmas or trials. We were just kids looking to pretend to be wild for the night, and most of the time it worked. The police, as with most things that happen in our town, caught wind before long. Whether it was a pair of loose lips or a parent stomping into their son's room with demands about their whereabouts, we'll never know. My father Nat warned me one night after I returned with a palpable sense of smoke on my clothes that the party wouldn't last forever. Rumor had it that Don Chamberlain was fuming about the transgressions happening under his nose, and before long, his bark would become a bite. Like a million other things that Nat and the town threatened, I shrugged it off. That night after graduation, we slapped unearned cash into Cliff's hand and drove his truck out of Oak Hill's main drag. Ahead, headlights illuminated the dark entryway that dead-ended with a wrought iron gate which led to the Dockery estate, one of the few structures that far on the side of town. Still, they were far enough away for us to feel safe, and on most nights the wind pushed westward. Cliff pulled off the road, nestled the truck behind a collection of six others. Heads bobbed in the fading moonlight and slithered into the bowels of the forest. What once stood as an emergency entry into the Nantahala in case of fire or rescue operations had become a sidewalk for us teenagers. The familiar path required limited navigation. A beacon of oranges and reds flashed ahead and invited us in. Voices swelled, and celebratory shouts acknowledged each new arrival. We were kings and queens, if only for a moment. Our whole lives stood ahead, futures bright like the flames that flashed in the pit below. Cliff snatched our cups and filled them with a foamy brew that tasted like freedom and bitterness. Arms raised in triumphant cheers, we drove our cups together. Beer sloshed over rims and puddled in untamed grass below. A hoot and a holler, and the party was on.